SprintCarUnlimited.com, coming from Babs Motor Speedway. We're here with second place finisher Danny Dietrich. Danny, you gave it everything you had the last couple laps, made up a lot of ground. I think there was a little contact maybe on the backstretch.
A lot of contact.
Take me through that last lap.
I tried to win, and it didn't work.
I love the analysis.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, when he went to the bottom, I knew I was going to have to be plugging it in the fence through 1 and 2 and get a run off of 2. I did. Felt like I could have got a little bit better of a run. You could just tell there was a little bit of dirty air in front of me. But just Troy knew I was probably going to be coming across, on the top, or coming around on the top, and he shut the door as he should. And luckily, we both finished.
Track was a little different. I know they wanted to work on it beforehand, but with all the crashes they wanted to get it done on a Sunday. It was different. It seemed different than normal. A little trickier, a little narrower.
It can't be that much different. We were still at the front. And still ripping around the top of 1 and 2. It just needed to clean up. It was dirty. Honestly, it was different. At the beginning part of the race. At the end, it was about the same. It's just dirty. We got cloudy weather this afternoon, a lot of water all before the day started. Again, we got wind. So turn 4 is dry as can be because of wind. I don't know what else to say. It's kind of standard for Babs. It depends on the weather.
Still turned into a good one.
Yeah,
I mean you made it good.
We can call it a barn burner, I would say. Yeah, I mean, if the fans didn't enjoy it, then there's something wrong with them. Probably go watch NASCAR or something.
Car's fast. You were fourth last night.
Not fast enough.
Second tonight.
Not fast enough. So we're working on it. We have a fast race car. I feel like we have, at the end of the races, I feel like we got the fastest car here in Central PA. We just haven't won the races. You got to be solid all 25 laps, and there's times where we need to be a little bit faster the first 5 to 10 laps, but you don't win lap 5. So we just need to figure something out to get a little bit better, a little bit quicker, and try not to be making so much time up when the track's used up as much as it is at the end of the races.
Seems like you're good in dirty air. You can pass cars again. Probably one of the best cars in dirty air in the area. You got to feel good about it and your timing decent.
Well, you got to be able to see dirty air. You got to be able to see the air, like Dale Earnhardt said. So I think that helps. Being able to see air is, I think, a big advantage. That's why I wear glasses. I think that's why Kyle Larson's so fast. He can see air.
Oh my God! Last year you won the Weicker. Got to feel good. Be good going into that 3 days, especially being this quick. A lot of good finishes with obviously not enough wins, as you said, but got to feel good going into that race up at Port Royal, especially with how good you were last night.
Yeah, I mean, we tried some stuff last night and felt it was really good until we had problems. We had some bleeder issues again. Come in at like 12.5 pounds, probably raced at 13 pounds in the right rear tire, and just at the end of the race, that's the main reason I couldn't get off turn 4. Couldn't get off turn 2 and down the straightaways. Just right rear felt like a balloon, and we come in and the bleeder wasn't bleeding off. So we fixed that today. We also fixed the crew member as well. Jake was broken yesterday, so we fixed Jake today, and things are a lot better.
Well, congratulations on another good run.
Thanks.
SprintCarUnlimited.com, coming to you from Babs Motor Speedway. We're here with winner Troy Walkerman Jr. Troy came into this thing with no wins. It's been one of those up and down years, a lot of top fives, but yet some runs probably you wish you had back. It's got to feel good to just get one in the win column.
Yeah, I was starting to forget if I could win. It's been since June of last year, so a lot of seconds, a lot of thirds, and I think we've been out of the top 10 once, and we wrecked at Lincoln for the Outlaw Show, so we've been there. It's just not had what we had the years past, and trying to get back to that. We've been working hard, and it's not for lack of effort, just been off that little bit where Danny and Chase and Macri just been on another level, and felt good to finally hold them off, and I felt really good there.
Yeah, I mean, look, Babs, you're always pretty quick, always in the top 5, just like you said, not as quick as Danny. Tonight you were able to beat him, but it was close there at the end.
I knew I was okay running the top, but Persley was setting a pretty good pace as a lap car. But I was gaining on him, and then he missed the bottom, and then I got right to him and got in dirty air, and I was like, oh no! I just was trying to keep like a gap. Like I was running hard, but I didn't want to like get to him because I knew it'd be dirty, and I didn't hear anyone yet, and I didn't see anyone. So, and then when I went to the bottom, I think, and then Danny showed me his nose on the bottom in 3 and 4. I was like, I got to get up on the wheel and make this thing wide for 2 laps. I couldn't really follow him in, so thank you. And just kind of worked out, and I know we made contact. I didn't know he was there until he was there. I didn't mean to drive him dirty, but I had to get a win.
Well, yeah, take me through that sequence coming off too on the last lap. I mean, Dave Hare said it. You already took the checker. It was just, you probably wish you would have.
Yeah,
but,
I thought how he was giving the 2 to go. I thought I already got it because how the lap cars was and how they point here is weird. And then when I came around, I was seeing the white again. I was like, mother. I was like, God dang it. I thought that was it. I thought I pulled it off. And then I was like, well, I got to make 1 and 2 wide. Thank you. Appreciate it. I was like, I can't just commit behind Persley and let him slide me. So I just tried to make it wide for the last lap. And thankfully, he didn't get in there.
That had to be pretty satisfying, especially on a night where you have some high limit guys in the field, really stout field here. They get a lot of cars here. Just to kind of, how much can you take forward from this going into some pretty big races coming up?
This is huge because, like you said, a lot of good cars here. And Chase and Danny and Macri, honestly, I think are the 3 fastest cars. Even when the Outlaws are in, gravel obviously is peak of the crop, but I mean they pretty much put it to them. They're running really good in the Outlaw show, and Lincoln and Grove there. So to run with them guys is being that good right now is a good gauge. I know it's PA and the way we run here, but it's just a good gauge to see where we are. And it's tough to be good around here right now. There's 10, 15 cars that can win every night just with everyone running around here now. So it's good to get a win, especially with the high limit guys here, and take this momentum in the next couple weeks.
What's the plan next week? I mean, there's a lot of races that pay extra money.
Yeah.
High limit 3 races up at Port Royal. What's the plan? And do you feel this team maybe going on a little bit of a run now?
Yeah, I feel good. We can put it all together, all 3 tracks. I felt we were really good at the Outlaw show at the Grove. I just made a couple bad mistakes early. We still ended up 10th, but I felt like we were all over Gio and Sheldon. I felt we could have ran top 5 easy if I did the right things. And but next week we'll be at the Grove Friday, Lincoln Saturday, and we're going to go up and run Sunday at Port for the 75. I feel like we have a good package there. I think we ran 4th or 5th there earlier this year with a regular show for the least laps we have there, and thought we ran 9th at the Tusky in one of the nights last year with the high limit. So if we can go and keep that up, I feel confident.
Well, congratulations on the win.
Yeah, got to thank my guys, though, Ben, Willie, David. Long weeks like this when you're on Sundays, and Willie's got to be up at 3, Ben 6, me 6. It's just long and hard, and they just keep busting ass and they never complain and give me a good hot rod. And Mike for letting us do this and giving everything we need.
Welcome to another edition of SprintCarUnlimited.com live. I'm Jeremy Elliott. Struggling a little bit here today. Obviously, we had a pay-per-view last night. But again, welcome to SprintCarUnlimited.com live. Thank you to everyone who's tuning in to talk on the chat or calling in. There's a lot to talk about, but before we get to everything, we're going to go over a couple of the storylines from the weekend and or things coming up. And we're going to start with Justin Peck. Justin Peck has been struggling for most of the season, but he's kind of turned things around as of late, at least over the last 2 weeks. He has a pair of third-place runs, a second to Rico Abreu that I think everybody in the country saw at Kokomo, and a victory Friday night at Ransomville Speedway. Now he heads to Central Pennsylvania for a quartet of races, starts tomorrow at Grandview, and then 3 over the Bob Weicker weekend at Port Royal. So we'll see if he can continue that surge that he's had heading into the middle stages of the season. Close finishes have also been the talk of the week. At Port Royal on Saturday night, Anthony Macri chased down Garrett Bard and beat him coming down the front stretch to the checker by 8 thousandths of a second. You probably saw the highlights on Flow. Danny Dietrich was also in the mix. got caught up with lap traffic, which really helped Macri's cause. But Macri pulled off the late pass, kind of came off the cushion in turn 4, got a lot of momentum going down the front stretch, and was able to make it happen. Down the road at Lincoln, Chase Dietz was chasing Freddie Raymer, came up short by 45 hundredths of a second. So everybody's saying that there's no good racing anymore. I'll point to this weekend. And basically what I mean by that is there's going to be some good ones. There's going to be some bad ones. I don't think the racing's that much worse than it used to be. I do know there's a tire problem, and I get all that. Guys are complaining about tires, but we had a couple bangers this weekend in central Pennsylvania, and we had another close one at Bass Motor Speedway on Sunday between Danny Dietrich and Troy Walgeman. So things are looking good, at least in central PA. David Gravel. Don't know what else we can say about him at this point. He swept Oswego over I guess, would it be Wednesday, Thursday? They rained out at Cornwall, or maybe he would have made it a trifecta. But Gravel gets his 7th and 8th win of the season in 23 World of Outlaws starts. And he's 178 points ahead of Buddy Kofoid, who slipped by Logan Schuchart this week. This race is over for the point championship. I just don't see how David Gravel's not going to go into a coma. So unless that happens, this one's over. And then we have the 4th and final one before we get to your calls, which will be 1-844-543-8589. You can also ask questions through the chat. We had an incident at Babs Motor Speedway that has grown some legs over the last 24 hours. A lot of opinions out there. Aaron Reutzel came across the nose of Cody Hartlaub in the 4th heat race. Hartlaub ended up spinning, got out of the car, threw a steering wheel, chucked the double bird at him, and did it again going off the track. Like I said, a lot of opinions on this. The video isn't out there, but SprintCarUnlimited.tv was there, and I'm going to have our producer, Eric Schneck, play that right now. Go ahead and roll it.
Like a couple of the drivers got a little eager there. Saw some accordion action as Ashton Torgerson pulls the front wheels off the ground as he exits turn number 2. 1A in that 5th and final transfer spot. Aaron Reutzel to the inside of Cody Hartlaub. That's the battle for that runner-up position. We'll watch them as they move into 3. Aaron Reutzel to the top side of 3 and 4. Hello. Hartlaub closes the door getting into 1. He'll exit high off of 2. Another wheel stand there. A lot of grip on that part of the track. Hartlaub sideways through 3 and 4. Able to pull it back in. Reutzel unable to capitalize. And how about this? Ashton Torgerson is there. 1A closing in on the 87. That'll be for 3rd. Out front, Kyle Moody's got him a little bit of breathing room right now. Reutzel to the outside of Hartlaub. Oh, my.
The call by Dave Hare. The oh, my.
So Aaron Reutzel able to move to the outside of Cody Hartlaub, but then chopped him here on the front stretch. Not sure what that was about. Hartlaub goes around.
Okay, here comes the toss. Pretty good arm here by Cody
87
Hartlaub.
Car of Aaron Reutzel to the tail of the field for rough riding.
And there you go. I wanted to play the before and after just for context. I know a lot of people like to just play the incident itself. You be the judge if you want to talk about that or anything else. Again, just give us a shout, 1-844-543-8589. We'll also go to the chat. We're ready to go. What do you guys got for me? We have Jeremy on line 1. This is a little weird, but Jeremy, how are you doing?
Hey, Jeremy, how's it going?
It's
Jeremy
going.
from New Jersey, all right? To make it easy.
Okay. All right.
I was calling. I want to talk about a couple things. First, I want to talk about Garrett Barr. I wanted to see what you think about him. I think he's a from what I've seen of him lately, I think he's starting to kind of come around a little bit. He was on my radar from last year. He won those 2 races at Clinton County. That's my original like home track that I grew up going to. So like I pay attention to what goes on there. And he won the 2 410 races they have there last summer. And
Right.
you know, between that race Saturday night, you know, where he did a heck of a job fending off Danny Dietrich before Macri got to him. And I saw the other week he took second at Tri-City. I just think he's starting to figure it out a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Garrett Bard definitely is starting to come around. I was really impressed this Saturday. I know he was pretty dejected after the race, and I told him I think it's the best race that I've seen him run in a 410, holding off Danny Dietrich. You know, Danny was all over him, and it would have been easy to make a mistake. He held his line. He moved around, got past lap traffic when he needed to. I mean, lap traffic didn't cooperate for Danny very well, but that's not the point. You know, Danny, seasoned veteran, could have, I mean, Danny, to his credit too, could have really, you know, roughed him up a bit, and he didn't. But Garrett did a great job. I liked what I saw, and I'm anxious to see if he can put it in the show this week if he runs all 3 nights of the Weikert. So I think that is going to be more of a telltale because, you know, you have a lot of traveling teams in town, and now you got to back up that runner-up finish. You got to come back from that after losing a tough way down the front stretch coming to the checkers. So, but I like what I see so far, and I'm interested to see what he can do in the future.
Yeah, totally. I hope he puts a good showing this weekend against the high limit guys. Was also going to ask you about Clinton County. I was wondering, you ever hear good things about that track? I mean, anytime I hear like people talk about it, like, you know, podcasts or whatever, or even drivers, sometimes they always say it's you know, it's kind of a hidden gem track. I don't get to see it too much anymore living out in New Jersey. My new track is New Egypt out here. Not really much sprint car country, but we do got the World of Outlaws coming out in October. I already got my ticket ordered for that. But yeah, Clinton County, I wonder what do you think of that track? You ever hear much about it?
Yeah, no, I hear a lot of good things about Clinton County lately. I have talked to the promoter there, and I know they're trying to do a lot of, you know, good things, trying to, you know, make it the best facility possible to make some changes. And, you know, obviously they have a couple 410 sprint car shows this year. So I think that's a step in the right direction to kind of get on the radar a little bit. I mean, look, it's nice that they host 305s and that's great. But in Pennsylvania, it's a very 410 sprint car heavy area. And really, to get on the radar, you need to host 410s. And they're doing a couple of those this year. And look, crawl before you walk and build. And they're doing it. I think they're doing it the right way. So I hear a lot of good things. Talking to some of the drivers who have run there, they like going there. So I definitely think they're on the uptick as far as what's going on in central upper Pennsylvania, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I always heard a couple of the drivers. They always say hopefully one day they'll get a speed week date. So hopefully that happens one day. It'd be great to see.
That's tough. I mean, the speed week deal is tough because now Sealands Grove's off it. So you would think they'd be the next track to get back on it. You have Big Diamond.
Yeah.
You know, keeping it in that central Pennsylvania type area. I know everybody's going to complain about Hagerstown, but honestly, after the races that have been put on at Hagerstown the last 4 or 5 years, you can't take them off. And it's a nice facility and guys like going there. So I used to be one of those people who get mad about that. I don't anymore. So,
yeah. I think I did have one last question for you.
Go ahead.
This is actually a 305 question, but kind of related to. It's Kreitz related. Did you see the 305 feature at BAPS last night?
I did.
That car that won. He's got like the same paint scheme and the 69 as Kreitz. I was like, does Kreitz own that car or something?
Yeah. Well, you know, the funny thing is, unfortunately, I could get back. I was producing the show last night, the BAP show at times, and we're training somebody as well. Eric, my producer, is doing a great job. I didn't really get a chance to get back there. So I hate to say it, I don't really know what the deal is. It looked like one. I mean, obviously, the paint scheme was sort of kind of the same. I don't know if there's any affiliation there. I would be speculating if I gave an answer. I just didn't have a time to get back there yet. So if anybody in the chat can clue us into that, I'd appreciate it. I didn't have a chance. It's the first time I've seen it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it had me curious too.
yeah, no, it definitely did. So I don't know. I doubt there's a part of me that doubts that it's affiliated because it doesn't look like Cassidy's car, and Cassidy will, I would think that, but she ran 410s at Port the other night. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if it is or isn't. So it's something I'll check on this week.
All right. Thank you. Hey, Jeremy, thanks for taking my call. I appreciate what you do. I listen every week and I enjoy it. And I'll continue listening. And I won't call in every week, but maybe I'll have something to say every now and then.
No problem. Thank you very much for the call. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, Jeremy.
Yep, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Going to the chat. Great deep dive with Bernie this past week. One of my favorite parts of Sprint Car Limited is the deep dive with various guests who I've had on. Any hints as to who could be in the future? Yeah, I'm not going to give any away because, you don't get the commitment. I'd hate to tell you people who are, I'm trying to get on and then they don't come on. So, I want to have them. We had a couple weeks where we didn't have one because we had them set up and, life happened, or there was a rain out and a race got moved and they had to do something for a car they own or whatever. So again, sorry we missed a couple weeks, but we're trying to have them every week, and I'm already going to make a call on the one for this Thursday. So tune in. Any insight into who might skip Husitz and go to Skagit for 100,000? Obviously, Peck in the 26, but I could see Baston and possibly others. It's a long trip. I wouldn't be surprised. Yes, Justin Peck will be there. I wouldn't be surprised if Baston headed out that way because they have the other car. There's just a lot of ways to get to Skagit, and they just fly them out, fly the crew out wherever they're at. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Baston's there. I wouldn't be surprised if Corey Day's there. I wouldn't be surprised, guys like that. I don't see Tyler Courtney. I mean, he's done it before. I don't know. I don't think he would go out, but I don't know. So I think the ones you mentioned, those are the ones who would go out to that. I mean, Husitz is 250,000. And then you have 100,000 a couple days before. That's a lot of cheddar. I don't think you're just going to forego that to go to Skagit. So, but we'll see. But I definitely think those two are strong possibilities. Some great local racing over the weekend in PA. Yeah, we talked about it in the opening. I always hear how the racing's so bad, it's terrible, so on and so forth. But it didn't look bad this week. Danny Dietrich, even before Macri pulled off a last lap pass, the last down the front stretch pass, photo finish, Dietrich was all over Bart. So that was good, throughout. I mean, he chased him down. Lincoln, I didn't see the highlights from Lincoln. They didn't broadcast it, but I heard about it. They said Chase Dietz again was running down Raymer, slid him, Raymer back under him, and ended up beating him at the wire. Sealands Grove on Friday night, the restarts really helped there. I think if you don't have restarts, it probably would have strung out and been kind of ho-hum, but they had some restarts, and Chase Dietz made a pass on Kirkland, who's looking really good as well. So Paps, Danny Dietrich made it fun late. So I think we had some good racing in Central Pennsylvania. Surprised that Chaz isn't sitting next to you. Guess you didn't want to put him up. I live in an apartment and I don't put people up. So, and I have my daughter in and out and whatnot. So yeah, no. and I'm a solo guy on this deal, and my podcast, I have Ryan Hand. So right now I got a full boat. Dave Hare is awesome. He is. And I feel bad because the call last night, I think he saw they were given the 2 to go. And I think what happened was the white kind of flew funny. It was really windy. I don't know what it was. I know Troy Wogman thought that the 2 to go was the white flag. He said that in his interview. So he made the call, and we're tied into that audio. Our cameramen are kind of listening to that audio. So he froze it at the line. So we missed like a corner and a half, 2 corners. Now we adjusted on the backstretch, but Dave felt bad about it. He kind of made a fun, look, that guy's the best announcer in PA. If you have 1,000 scenarios, he's going to make a mistake maybe twice, if that. So yes, Dave Harris is really good. So what is your opinion on the Reutzel deal? All right. I knew this was coming. So yes, Reutzel chopped down on him. The track made the call to put him to the rear for rough driving. I don't have a problem with that. Cody Hartlob obviously did what he did. He could get a penalty out of that because the rule book at BAP states you can't get out of your car. And of course, chucking the double bird in front of a stands when you have kids there, that's a problem too. So, and throwing the steering wheel. And so he could get some kind of penalty, maybe a monetary deal. I don't know. But the track obviously made the call. I don't disagree with the call. I know some people thought he should have been black flagged for the night, which I've been going to sprint car racing since 1984. I've never seen anybody black flag for the night for something like that. Was it dangerous? Yes. Not going to deny that. But here's the interesting thing, and I was thinking about it today. If that's not Aaron Reutzel, if that is somebody else, would it be as big of a deal? I'm going to say no. Doesn't make it right. I'm saying because of who it is, it's like a lightning rod. So again, just throwing that out there. But the track did something. How many tracks would have put him to the rear of the heat? Now he did make it back to the redraw, but at least they did something. So I think Babs gets a lot of credit for that. And people can start hating on Aaron again. He's been pretty quiet, other than winning a couple high limit races and last year winning a high limit race at Port. I'm sure he'll be booed this week at Port Royal. He'll be booed at Grandview or whatever. I don't think Cody and Aaron will be going out to dinner anytime soon. Again, I was producing the show, unfortunately, so I couldn't get back to the pits. But look, again, track did the right thing, and people can talk about it. But I think the reason people are talking about it a lot is because it's Aaron Reutzel. And he's a lightning rod for either you like him or you hate him. So I can tell you this. He's a great driver. Whether you like him or you don't like him, he's a great driver. Love your show. From the angle on my video last night, it looked pretty deliberate, especially after what occurred the previous 3 or 4 laps. Yeah, I mean, it looked bad. Obviously, I wasn't in the cockpit with Aaron, so I don't know what he was thinking. But yeah, no, it didn't. No, it looked deliberate. I've seen that move. I think we had the Fred Raymer, Lucas Wolf deal at Williams Grove. I remember a deal with Lance Deweese and Jack Hodenshield at the National Open. Now, I was young, so I can't recollect exactly what happened, but I know Jack ended up flipped over the inside fence on the front stretch. The deal where guys kind of, outlaws guys, and I saw Greg Hodnett do, they just kind of, now it was elongated is a good word to use, coming down the front stretch and just kind of ease down to take that line away. Sometimes it's close. This was quick. So yeah, slightly different, but again, he was penalized for it. Now you might not like the penalty, but that's beside the point. All right, what else? Daryl on line 2. Daryl, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, buddy. How about you?
I'm doing okay, not too bad. My voice is a little off, but we'll make it through.
Oh, that's fine. Are you going to come out for the Gold Cup to Chico?
Ooh, I want to get back out to the West Coast. The last time I was there was 2017. I want to get back out there. I don't know if it'll be this year because I might go to Wisconsin at the beginning of June for 5 races in 6 days. There's Huset's. I'm definitely be at the Kings Royal, Knoxville Nationals, in Charlotte at the end of the year. So I want to get to the West Coast. It'll either be this year or next year.
Well, if you make it out this year, you come stay with me. We'll take you up to Shasta Lake. You can hang out on the houseboat, and we'll go to the races every night. But what I don't understand is I love Aaron Reutzel, and he did chop him, but I remember back in the 80s, I got shoved in the infield. I got pissed. I threw my helmet. They confiscated my helmet. They didn't give it back to me till the awards banquet. So confiscate that steering wheel.
Wow, that's a new one to me.
Quit that shit.
That's a new one to me. I confiscated for the rest of the year.
They confiscated my helmet, and the bad part it was my buddy's helmet. He was one of my sponsors, and one of another guy put me into the infield up here in Shasta County, running on a pavement track. But go to Chico every year. But yeah, I got pissed and. The car caught on fire. I got the car out, and I took my helmet and went out and chucked it at the side of that car. And I went back to get my helmet, and they said, "Nope, you ain't getting that helmet." I was like,
"Wow,
it's brand new. It's my helmet. I paid for it." They said, "We don't put up with that shit."
You know, it's funny. I think sometimes I hear everything. That's a new one. That is a new one.
Jeremy, keep up the awesome work, buddy. It's awesome because I live out here in California, and I've been going to Chico since 1976. Born and raised in Orange County, and Dad was a drag racer. Awesome mechanic, worked on the Mongoose, worked with just beautiful drag racing people. And Grandpa took me to Ascot every weekend. And my claim to fame was my uncle had a 66 big block El Camino, and I got to push off AJ Foyt at Ascot, sitting on his lap when I was about 7, 8 years old. And from then on, I thought I was king shit because I got to push off AJ Foyt.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words and a story that something I've never heard.
All right, buddy. You have a great day and keep up the good work.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Confiscating a helmet for the year. Now that's rough. That's rough. All right. What else do we got? Follow up from last week. Wyndham got a top 5. The rookies and Woo are really improving. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking of that when I was watching it. You know, you asked, can he get a win? And I said he'd get a top 5, but he looks better in that car than anybody has since Jason was winning races in it. So, you know, I know people thought that he shouldn't have gotten it, and obviously NOS money or whatever, but he looks decent. So, you know, good for him. Seems like he's coming around. Jeremy, rank your top 5 sprint car drivers with Larson in the pool. Wow. David Gravel's number 1 right now. Yeah, you have to because he, you know, number of races has to matter at some point. I'm going to go Gravel, Larson. You know, it's funny. I was saying today I got to do national rankings this week. And so you kind of caught me off guard, but that's okay. I'm going to go Gravel, Larson, Brad Sweet, Rico, and Buddy Kofoid. Those are my top 5 right now. Without looking at anything, without breaking it down, that's going to be my top 5. All right, what else do we got? Will you be in Ohio for any shows? I will be at Eldora the week of the Kings Royal. I might be out for Fremont, which if anybody wants to ask about the Fremont Brad Doty deal, I will be out for the week. So that's that. And that seems like that trip keeps getting longer for some reason. So I guess they want fans to spend even more money. but okay, whatever the case is. Why are we letting drivers run on the track again? Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. There's a rule you can't get out of the car at BAPS, and that could cost Cody Hartlob because, you're not allowed to do that. So I know he was mad. He had every right to be mad, and I get it. It's just unfortunate incident all the way around. Stay in your car. Let the track do something. If they don't do anything, talk to the race director afterward. Being a relatively new young fan, are there more 410 drivers now than ever? If not, what era had more? That's tough because back in the 80s, you didn't have social media. You didn't have sites like SprintCarRatings.com. I would say there was more guys back in the 80s and the 90s. In the 80s, you could build your own stuff. Car counts were higher. There were bad nights, but on the whole, I felt at that time car counts were higher. We don't have a specific metric. Like I said, we didn't have websites back then that charted everybody and where they raced and whatnot. So it's nice that we have it now. SprintCarRatings.com does a fantastic job. I use it for my top 50, which will be out tomorrow. Just couldn't get to it today. But yeah, so that's kind of tough to ask, but I would guess more in the 80s just because it wasn't as expensive, wasn't as costly. Any updates on Callum Williamson returning to PA? He said he worked on, worked on some shop space at Steve Smith's last summer after he left the Trone ride so he could ship his own equipment over. I've not heard if he's coming over yet. I expect to see him. Callum jumps in some chats sometimes. More than welcome to jump in here, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the States. I guess, Ryan Newton just came over, and I think and James McFadden's slated to be here at the beginning of June. These guys are going to start trickling in. And I haven't heard for sure if he's coming over, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him over here. It's something that happens every year, and I think it's going to grow. All right, what else do we have? Oh, Keith Kaufman was given the black flag driving dirty at Port with Paul Latier, but was it in the feature? If it happened in the heat race, was he black flagged for the night? People wanted Aaron Reutzel black flag for the night. I've never seen that. Now, if it's in the feature, it doesn't count because that's the last event of the night. So my thing is, I've never seen anybody black flag for the entire night if it happened in the heat race or hot laps or anything else. Did you get any of the driver's take on what happened? No, because by the time I got to the pit area, Reutzel was gone, and I believe Cody Hartlob was also gone. By the time, because again, that's the one problem with BAPS, guys. I produce the shows. Now that's going to change. Eric, like I said, Eric does a really good job, and I'm going to turn him loose on his own. So it's going to allow me to be back in the pit area, which is where I need to be to obviously get the information I get. I do the best I can at BAPS, so we'll do better in the future. Corey on line 4. Corey, what do you got?
Hey, Jeremy, how you doing tonight?
I'm okay. Not too bad.
Hey, I'd like to kind of talk about most improved drivers so far for 2025, kind of what you think, who you think of. Right off the top of my head, Casey Kane has to be one of them, just kind of so far what he's done this year, the speed that he has had. We really haven't seen that in years past. He's been a lot in he's been top 5s, top 10s this year. Who are some other drivers you think are kind of so far in that improved in the World of Outlaws Rookie of the Year race? Man, these guys are, they're really good.
Corey, I like your Casey Kane take. What's surprising about that is he doesn't have Eric Prutzman. It seems like they've stepped up their game, and he's been better. I don't know how you can overlook Zach Hampton and Chris Windom at this point. Zach Hampton, the knock on him is, he wrecks, and he wrecks hard. I saw John Westbrook had a comment in here earlier. Zach Hampton cleared defense twice in 2 nights at
2 times.
At Williams Grove. So
Yeah.
he got this kind of stigma about him that he crashes, and he crashes a lot. Well, this year he hasn't crashed much.
Even in his own car, he was hard on equipment though. But I think that's a solid point that you bring up about him. He really has been a surprise. He's made that car look really fast this year.
Absolutely. And I think, when we're talking about Chris Windom, again, when he took that ride, people were really down on it. They got, the routine. He's had 7 top 10s this year in 23 starts. Is it great? Is he contending for wins? No. But if you look at what's been expected, I would say he has a top 5. So it's, so I think he's surpassed expectations early in the year. So
I would agree. The other one that I think really is, exceeded expectations is Cole Macedo in the 2C car, just because of where they were at when the last time that they were on the tour. That they struggled big time last time, and he's putting quality starts and quality finishes each, and you kind of expected that maybe with some of the bull rings, being that's more of Cole's background. But outside of Volusia, they've been really good on the bigger tracks too.
Yeah, he has 3 top 5s this year. I expected more top 10s. He has 6. I expected more. They've had some, again, Volusia hurt him. He's had to take some provisional. He had to take provisionals down there, which I don't want to say it surprised me, but a little bit. But the 3 top 5s is really good. And I think that team's getting better. I see progress from the start of the year to now. And, when you talk to these different teams who are doing it the first time, Skylar G, for instance, when I talked to him at Lincoln after he finished 7th, you can say what it takes to run with the World of Outlaws for an entire season. That doesn't mean you know. You don't know until you don't know. And I think it's a lot to bite off, and maybe they're just coming along. Obviously, Cole and Wayne Johnson have got to develop a rapport. That takes some time. So I'm interested to see what he does over the next 3 quarters of the season.
Agreed.
Yep. There you go.
Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
Corey, thanks for calling. I appreciate it. And I'll be in touch soon.
Bye.
Bye. All right. With PA Speed Week coming up in less than 2 months, what tracks do you think will be wild cards this year? Plus, you think any high rollers will show up? Well, I expect Brent Marks to come back into PA for the second half of Speed Week, and I wouldn't doubt if we see a couple more guys come in and run Path Valley. There is a Speed Week show at Path Valley to close the 10-race series, and High Limit goes there in September. So that wouldn't surprise me at all. I hope they come in and run. It makes sense to come in and run the Mitch Smith, then run Port Royal. Obviously, they're there this week, but you can get more laps for the Tuscarora 50, especially if you struggle, and then hit Path Valley. I'd like to see him hit Hagerstown because it's just such a nice facility. But I think you could have some high limit guys at Path Valley and that whole weekend because they're off. Marks especially, I think, will run races. What tracks are wild cards? Grandview always produces something weird. And it's not Grandview. It's like, okay, we had the Aaron Reutzel, Danny Dietrich dust up when they ran there. That was an all-star race, but still, just so that track's on the schedule. Hagerstown's always interesting too. Kyle Larson could either win there or finish 12th, which I've seen both. It's produced some good racing of late. So I think those two tracks and Path Valley stand out the most because you don't see sprint cars there that often, and they produce Grandview again. Just weird stuff happens there sometimes. So I think those are the three tracks to watch. And yes, I do think we'll see some high rollers at some point in the second half of Speed Week. Trent on line 5. Trent, how you doing? Trent,
how about yourself?
Yep. Oh, there you are. I'm doing okay. Not too bad.
So I wanted to talk to you about Danny Dietrich's finish at Sealands Grove and at Baps. What do you think he could do, like, to get faster, or like, do you think it's just how good the competition is?
I think Sealands Grove was tough because Chase Dietz just got there first. Chase Dietz is really good, and he had a crack at him. But again, big fast track. It was cooler, so I just think he didn't catch him. I think another lap at Baps he would have won. I think.
Yeah.
Troy Wagaman got out front, fought off Anthony Macri, and you didn't have a caution in the second half of that race. So Danny had to erase a 2-second lead. I think Danny's really quick now. I think if he times well this week, he'll be a factor at Port Royal. I think maybe at Port Royal on Saturday night, just, replaying it in my head, he was probably too nice. Maybe it was, I know he doesn't like to race where he's roughing, what I like to call roughing people up, but, I think he was probably played too nice with the guys and didn't want to crash up a car for a weekly show at Port Royal. But I think if he would have been to Weikert, he probably would have pressed the issue a little more.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Danny's in a good spot. He has 3 wins.
And
he's timing well.
Do you think he has a chance to win this weekend at Port Royal?
Sure. Yeah, he won it last year, and I think he's timing better this year than he did last year. Yeah. So, I think Danny definitely has a chance. I think.
All right, thank you.
No problem. Thank you for calling. Appreciate it. I think Anthony Macri's probably the local favorite at Port Royal, but Danny's definitely up there. Do you think Bedford would be deserving of a PA Speed Week date? Not in my mind. It's out there pretty far, and it's big, and I've been there a couple times, and the sprints just string out there. And I know they can at the Grove and stuff, but that's not the point. Are you going to add another track that does that? And again, it's pretty far out there. So I just don't know if that fits into the Central Pennsylvania Speed Week schedule at this point. Not when there's so many other tracks who want a date. So pretty cool to see the lowrider getting the win Saturday at Sharon in Dave's car. Yeah, Dale Blaney, give him a good car, and he can still drive. It was good to see Dale win. I like Dale. He's personable, good driver. Hall of Fame driver. I mean, he's good. And in Dave's car, that was just it was interesting and nice to see. Who's your pick to win the Weikert on Sunday? I haven't made that pick yet. Ryan Hand and I haven't done the podcast. We missed a podcast last week. His daughter's in softball. So, and with the rain and weather, it's a lot of moving parts. So I apologize to anyone who subscribes to SprintCarUnlimited.com. We'll be back on the regular schedule, and we'll have one this week at some point, even though this week's hectic as well. Look, the guys I'm looking at are Rico, Aaron Reutzel, Macri, and here I'll make a pick. Now, it might change later in the week. So I think Tyler Courtney's going to be tough. Tyler Courtney last year gave Dietrich everything he had. Dietrich, did a good job. I think Tyler Courtney could be the guy this week to win the Weichert. So that's who I'm going with right now, but that could change. James on line 6. James, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you tonight?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
So my question for you tonight is, I was watching a lot of racing over the weekend, and I saw a lot of series, even not national series, like local series, were doing 4 wide salutes to the fans. My question is, what do you think about some of these local series doing the 4 wide salutes? I personally think it's ridiculous.
I'm with you. I would look, the biggest mistake the Outlaws ever made was not trademarking that. But I'm also sick of people climbing on the wing. Okay, do something else. Yeah. I don't like seeing the 4 wide every night. I just don't. Do 3. Don't do any. Whatever. I'm with you. It's overdone. I think we've overdone some things in this sport, and it's a monkey see, monkey do socialist type of sport where we all do the same thing, and I don't really understand it. 4 wide salutes, getting on top of the wing. Like, let me ask you, what would happen if the winner of the World of Outlaws event doesn't get on top of the wing? Is there a fine?
Fans would lose their minds.
So
I
what?
don't know why they will, but they do.
Yeah. So what? I wouldn't get on top of the wing. I can tell you that. If I won, I would not get on top of the wing. I'm not climbing up there.
I agree, especially the guys that like beat on the wing. I never understood that. You're just tearing up a perfect good wing.
Now, I did think it was entertaining that Troy Wagaman was pointing down to the wing belly last night. With the wing deal that happened the last time there. But all in all, I just wish guys would switch it up. I wish the series would switch stuff up. I understand the 4 wide it's just been overdone. I'd like to see something new.
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
And I have one last question for you, Jeremy, if I can. So I'm from Canada. Do you think that Outlaws or High Limit make their way back up here again, or do you think they're one and done and they're not going to come back up?
I could see the Outlaws coming up there again.
Do you think it's only Oshwekin, or do you think they might come to maybe Merrittville or Southern Ontario?
Well, the thing is, I don't think they're going to stay up there for an extended period of time. I know Cornwall, they gave that a shot, and obviously it rained out. I heard it poured buckets up there.
It did. It got almost completely underwater.
Yeah, so I could see them adding. I could see them adding another race or two, but it's got to be one swing. They're not going to go They're not going to go that far north multiple times a year. I think it's got to be one trip and then back. So I could see them. I mean, it looked like it was well attended, which is always the key. And the racing, people were pleased with the racing. So I could see them definitely going back next year and maybe trying Cornwall again, or maybe adding one in between. We'll see. But I think you'll see them on the schedule again.
Yeah, because they sold out Oshwekin both nights like a month or two in advance. Gary Stiles had to buy and build more Gary Stiles had to buy and build more grandstands to allow for more tickets to be sold. So I think the fan base up here loves sprint car racing, and we will support it every time they come. I'd love to see it more personally.
I think you will. I think I got a number today for Dylan Westbrook. I want to call him and do a story on Dylan Westbrook.
He's great.
He did a good job. And I think sprint car racing is popular up there. I always hear good things about whether it's 360 or whatever when they go up there. It does well, sell a lot of tickets. So, look, that's the key. If the Outlaws can make money and the response is there from the fans, I think they'll go back. So I would almost say it's 90%. I'm 90% sure they'll go back next year. I would be very surprised if they don't.
I hope it's a little later in the year, so it's not during our rainy season. But thanks for chatting there, Jeremy. You have a great rest of your night.
Yep. Thank you very much for the call. Appreciate it. All right. Sheets or Wawa? Ooh, I like me some Sheets MTO. Just saying. Wawa, we don't really have it where I'm at. That's more of a Lancaster and East thing. So, but I have no problem with Wawa, but I'm going to say Sheets because I like the MTOs. By the way, that's made to order for people who don't know, and I'm sure there are some. Come on, Jeremy. Gravel stats are padded because he isn't racing anyone capable of racing up. Okay, stop. So, Buddy Kofoid, Carson Macedo, Logan Schuchart, Gio struggling, Sheldon struggling, but so they're chumps. I beg to differ. The reason I beg to differ is because they're usually at the top of the win list by the end of the year, every year. So, and really, the World of Outlaws high limit thing, high limit basically has one guy who jumped ship, who was a top 5 or top 8 guy, and that's Brad Sweet. So I'm not saying that the Outlaws are drastically better than high limit. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you can't dismiss Gravel's accomplishment that he's not running against anybody. Because if you're going to do that, then when Larson won all the races in Central PA, which he did, 2020 and some in 2021, are you going to discount them? That's what I'm saying. You can't have it both ways. Look, the 57's really, really good. It's Kyle Larson, Silva, so on and so forth. I'm not saying, and yes, they were really good at Volusia, but I'm not saying they're chumps. I'm saying they're either winning or not relevant on a given night. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, Buddy Kofoid, he's in the top 10 18 times, 8 top 5s, 3 wins. Macedo, he has 12 top 5s. Yeah, they're struggling, but are they struggling and not winning because David Gravel wins all the time? It's a slippery slope. I'm putting Gravel 1. Not a guy. Look, and I think Kyle's good. And maybe if he ran more races to where he had to do it all the time. And this goes back to that Jovan Schultz called in and said about the whole ducking in and out. Ask Don Christ Jr. if that's easier, because he'll tell you it is. So I'll trust Don Christ Jr. any day of the week. Now, there's no stats to back it up and so on and so forth. It's an opinion. But I'm not going to just unseat Gravel just because of Volusia or Jacksonville. Maybe Kyle goes to Oswego and doesn't beat Gravel. But we got to go with what we know. Kyle's really good, and if you want to go 1 and 1A, I'm good with it. But I'm not going to just say Buddy Kofoid and Carson Macedo are irrelevant. Carson took a big hit at the Grove, wasn't his fault. A car spun in front of him as he was coming from 10th to 4th. I think he would have finished ahead of David that night. But, races happen the way they happen. And you know what? I might change my mind later in the week about Kyle and Gravel when I sit down and look at all the numbers and comb through it. But didn't Larson finish 9th at Texas? Gravel doesn't even have a 9th. I think his worst finish is 6th. If I'm not mistaken. He did have those 2 6th-place finishes. His 21 top 5s and 23 starts with the Outlaws. That's a lot. That's tough to do. All right. Are Baps and Port Royal the top tracks in central Pennsylvania right now? I think so. Right now. I really like what Baps is doing. They do a lot of promotions. Like last night, the girlfriends and wives of the drivers got in for free. And yes, they had a sponsor, but it's still a promotion. In the off season, they did the half off for tickets throughout the season. I think that's fantastic stuff. The facility's nicer. Do they need to maybe clean up a thing or two? Sure. But every year they improve. Every year. and the racing's good there. Port Royal, the racing's been good. Some will disagree. Some will agree. I mean, if you like dry slick, whatever. But 8 thousandths of a second. What are you going to say? So, and the facility's beautiful, and they're hosting big races. So, yes, those two tracks have separated themselves a little bit. 15 cars at Sealands Grove on Friday. Now they go against the Groves All-Star race. Will they lose Dietz and Dietrich? Not a smart business decision. I've talked about this. Dietrich will make a point and go to Sealands Grove. So I know he's a big supporter of what Sealands Grove's doing. But maybe he'll change his mind. Don't know. Dietz, I think Dietz will go to Williams Grove that night. Look, I don't like the decision in your first year of promoting, trying to put some of the stuff behind you that happened at Sealands Grove last year. I don't like making this leap to 4 races against Williams Grove the first year. You're jumping in. Look, endear yourself to the surrounding tracks. Put your head down. Try and bring back your fan base. Do all those things that you need to do to kind of get back in everyone's favor. That didn't help. Running against Williams Grove did not help. Because whether anybody wants to believe it or not, you alienated the biggest track in the area. Just wasn't a smart play. I don't think it was a smart play. They would have had 14 cars last week, if not, because Ryan Newton was at the Grove. He's the one who went back up after the Grove rained out. And people want to say, oh, they held him there long. Not really. They tried to open. It rained. They pulled it. That's it. It's not their fault. The rain came after 5 o'clock. And who wants to drive up 11 and 15 through Harrisburg? Dietrich did it, yes. But not everybody's going to do that. I know Dietrich had some words for other teams at Victory Lane. I don't have a problem that Dietrich said it, but I also don't blame teams for not going up. They don't owe anyone. I don't believe in this whole they owe anybody. It's their business. It's their money. They run where they want to run. But yes, I do not like the decision to run against Williams Grove. I don't like Port Royal's decision to do it this week. Traditionally, Williams Grove has the Memorial Day Friday night, 10 grand to win. And I think you're going to be surprised how many cars go to Williams Grove Friday night. We'll see. All right. Tim Schaefer had a great run at Angel Park. He wasn't even going to get up on the right rear. An announcer talked him into at least getting on the cage. Good for the old guy. Yeah, I mean, look, it's always good to see your veterans win. I wish he wouldn't have gotten up there. I don't understand why people feel why. I see that out in California. I've seen a couple guys not want to get up, and Jim Allen say, "Get up there." I would have said, "No, I don't want to." So do we need from a photographer standpoint, do we need the 150th shot of a guy getting on the wing? Do they do it differently? So I don't know. It's just me. I'm an old, I just want to see something different, I guess. Interesting to see Bill Rose race with IRA last night at Angel Park. Great win by Schaefer. Yeah. It's good to see Bill Rose back in a car, and, hopefully he keeps Zach Hampton in that. The 6 car, he's doing really well for what everybody expected. But yeah, it's good to see Bill back in a car. C-Bell in the 69K tomorrow at Grandview. Yes, he is. Christopher Bell will be at Grandview in the 69K tomorrow. And, think about it this way. I don't know if Kyle Larson's going to be there or not. I saw the entry list came out. I didn't get a chance to see it yet. But let's say Kyle Larson isn't. You got Christopher Bell, which is almost the same thing. So good for Grandview, good for High Limit. And it's always good to see Christopher Bell. And he's run Grandview before, I believe. I'm trying to go back through my memory back on that. That doesn't always work so well. But Christopher Bell at Grandview tomorrow will be fun to watch. especially in the 69K. They used to go there a lot, and then they kind of backed off going there. It's close to their shop. It's going to be an interesting night. Anxious to see it. If you come to Fremont, hit us up. I'd love to do a live episode with you on our show. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, if I get out to Fremont, I will do that. I'm not really wild that they're running that high limit show that week, though. No offense, but that's a lot of money for fans to spend that week. I would have rather have seen it maybe before the Eldora show in September, maybe, another time. I just didn't like it that week. Do any Outlaws show up Sunday at Port Royal? Maybe one. I don't know. I don't know what the tie-in's going to be. I heard they're going to be 3 separate shows. And then I heard somebody else say they were still talking about it because they talked to Steve O'Neill. But no, I don't expect maybe Gravel. Maybe Gravel takes a shot at it. I don't know what the schedule looks like. I didn't put them side by side and see, can these guys run any other shows close to high limit to get their 4 in. Obviously, they're going to use the 2 at Eldora. We know that. So I could see Gravel saying, you know what? I'll go roll the dice, pardon the pun, against high limit on Sunday. Maybe 1 or 2, maybe Shark Racing. I could see that happening as well. So maybe 1 or 2. All right. Ryan Smith win a race this weekend at Port. Ooh. Back in the 69K. Yeah, I think he can. Yeah. Would I pick him? That's tough. This week at Ports, I even think it's more interesting than last year. Dietrich last year, I don't want to say it was an upset win, but I don't think it was expected because of the timing thing. He looked really good, and I think he's timing well this year, which is important. They have a point deal thing, so I think he'll be okay with that. I think Anthony Macary's hitting his stride at the right time. I think Aaron Reutzel is always a factor at Port. I think Tyler Courtney's underrated at Port. And I think Ryan Smith falls in that category because he's in the 69K. So, yeah, maybe I'll tell you what. I can't say he's going to win, but I think he's going to be in the hunt. Should there be a limit on how many cardboard signs a track can bring to victory lane? We kill a lot of trees. That's for sure. Look, that's not going away. I'll tell you what, I mind the 4 wide thing and getting on the wing more than that because our sponsors and the track's at least getting money out of it. And really the tracks need all they can get at this point. But that's funny. All right. Do we got anything else? We're at 8:30. We hit it up. We have Pete on line 7. Pete, how you doing tonight?
Man, I'm down here in Oklahoma. I'm trying not to get blown away right now. But other than that, I guess it's all right.
Well,
how are you?
It was windy last night, but I'm sure not as bad as it is in Oklahoma. That's for sure.
Well, when the wind starts swirling like it is down here, that's when you got to worry about it because they call those tornadoes.
Well, here's what I don't understand. So I've been to Wichita, Kansas, and I've been to Oklahoma. I've been to Tulsa. And I know this isn't racing related, but it's a funny story. I went there with my ex-wife, and it was nighttime, and we got in, and we went to go get something to eat. And in the restaurant, it was like one of those Chicago-style chili places, and the TV's buzzing. It's a tornado warning. And I'm standing there, we're waiting to be seated, and nobody's moving. Like, I'm from Pennsylvania. We don't see that. So, and then
I was standing on my back porch a while ago while the sirens were going off. You got to see it first.
You know what? I'm out. Like, I'm sorry, you guys are crazy. I'm not. Look, we stood outside then and waited for our table, and we didn't see anything, but it was nighttime. We're not going to see it.
Yeah.
So I just.
Well, you got to realize, I mean, that's probably the 15,000th time I've heard the sirens go off, and you kind of just start, you get a little, you have some common sense about it. I've looked at the radar, and I like to think I'm somewhat weather savvy, and so I was kind of paying attention. But yeah, I mean, that's just normal. You get where I literally don't even wake up anymore when it happens.
Hey, I go with God. I'm out. Like I was walking. I couldn't believe everybody was so nonchalant about it. But what do you got with racing?
Hey, so this is pretty off topic, but I thought about this earlier in the year, and you're the only person I would know that would have any idea. So when these guys sign on with High Limit or World of Outlaws or Lucas late models or World of Outlaws late models, and they're full time, do they get like insurance along with that, as in health and life insurance? Because they've got to have something, I would think. And I know that sounds crazy to be asking, but it's a legitimate thought for me.
My audio just kind of went weird, but do you still have me?
Yes. I've got
okay, now I got you back. This is what I know. I know there's insurance for the series. And then there's also track insurance. It's like a supplemental almost. Now, I'm not up on it like Colton Gauss at BAPS and I talk about this stuff. And he's sat through the seminars. So I know what he's, it's kind of complicated. Excuse me. It's kind of complicated, but the series has insurance for the drivers. And then there's like a supplemental that the track has. And it's some kind of weird thing. Like if they get injured, I don't know if it's the track or series pays first and then the other insurance kicks in. I'm not 100% sure how it works, but there is insurance there.
Okay. Yeah. And I've heard someone speak on the topic before. I just cannot remember who it was or where I heard it, to go back and listen again.
Right.
But it was along the lines of what you're saying with the supplemental, like, hey, your series is going to cover you this much.
Right.
Pay us, whatever, $200 a month, and we'll cover everything else top of the thing. So that makes pretty good sense, I guess.
Yeah. So they do have it, and it's a nice thing to have. And like I said, then the tracks, I'm not sure which one's first because I've heard two different things. And I think the scenario, the situation might dictate that as well. I've heard stories that, the track's insurance, because once you get insurance people involved, I mean, really the series and the tracks themselves, they can't tell their insurance to do something. Okay. That's not how it works.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, it's not always
a disaster all the way around.
Right. It becomes you're just hoping, a driver's just hoping. There's a driver in Pennsylvania who got injured at a race. I'm not going to say who it is because I don't know if it's pending, but there was squabbling over whether the track's insurance was going to pick it up or the series was going to pick it up. So he was now eventually, I think it's been settled, but I'm not 100% sure. So I don't want to say who it was, but it is it's a barter. It's a mess with that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Chase Johnson thing comes to mind, and then the young lady in California comes to mind. I mean, there's got to be something. I just didn't have a clue what it would be. And then just real quick, I just watched the highlights. I watched the clip you had at the first of the show with Reutzel, and I think you hit it right on the head when you said anybody except for Reutzel, it would not have been the end of the world the way it is now.
Right, that's true.
I don't think anyone can deny that, period. Whether you love him or hate him, that's just a fact. It's because it was him. It's such a big deal. And then I will absolutely get on board with whoever it was that said, why are people getting out of the race cars? I just cannot. I get it. You're pissed.
Yeah.
They're going to go park beside each other in 2 minutes. Can you not keep it together enough to get off of the racetrack? That has never made sense to me. When the Tony Stewart deal happened, it's like, come on, guys. And then, you start seeing it more and more, and then something else is going to happen, and everyone's going to be shocked. When I just think it. Look, I go to the Chili Bowl every year, and people do it every now and then at the Chili Bowl, and to me, it's unacceptable. To me, it's cut and dry. Do not get out of your car if it's not on fire or a safety hazard. That's just it. You can talk about it later.
Right. Yeah. No. And March after the Tony Stewart thing, it changed the game here on this thing. So people have to accept that. We're going to go through change. I know people don't like it, and they want you to have personality. They want the drivers, and I get all that. But we all know the game we're playing, the rules in the rule book. You know, you can't pick and choose your rules. You can't, even though some tracks do and some drivers do. But again, yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. And yeah, you got to keep your head. And I get it. Cody Hartlob's paying the bill on that. It's his car. So,
well, as he should, I think. You know,
I understand that.
I get it. But you know, like infamously at the Chili Bowl, you know, Matt Ward, the race director, whatever you want to call him, there said, if you want to fight, get out of the car, get on the front stretch. Hockey rules. No one stops until you're on the ground. Cool, do it. That's great. Just don't do it when there's 24 other cars driving in a circle around you.
Right.
That's my thing. So I mean, like you're saying, the personality and everyone wants to see the emotion and
sure.
Yeah, I go shove each other and get in a fist fight. That's awesome. You know, Flo does it at the top of the ramp every year for the shootout in the Chili Bowl, which I know you're not the biggest fan of, but they do it. It's great. People tune in just for that.
Yeah, sometimes I'm an old codger.
Well, I don't know, man. Getting out of your car on the racetrack to me is like cardinal sin. You can't do that. And like I mean, unfortunately, it's something bad will happen, and then they're going to stop it, and no one will do it again for 10 years. And anyways, that's all I had for you, man. I'm going to stay down here and dodge these tornadoes and have fun with the floods.
Well, stay safe.
I'll do what I can, man. Y'all have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I see we have a lot of comments coming through. You're wearing a I know who this is, by the way, and so it's funny. Yeah, I don't like the Florida Panthers. You're right. I don't. I will give them credit, though. Scrappy team, workmanlike, very workmanlike. They can muck up a game and make it difficult. Good defense, good goaltender. I respect them, but I'm not a fan, and I hope Carolina beats them. In fact, I don't think there's another team in the league. There's probably a team I dislike. Yeah, I don't like the St. Louis Blues because of Chicago Blackhawks rivalry. But yeah, Panthers are my top 5 teams I don't like. Sorry. And I don't even have a good reason. I just don't. It's just so. But this is a Florida Gator shirt, just for the record. Do you think more high limit drivers end up going to Skagit Dirt Cup with the winner's share over 100,000 now? You know, I've been thinking about it. I was asked this already, and it's Corey Nishaw, who puts together great pools. If you know, he does a good job. If you want to get in a pool, they're hard. His groupings are hard, and I yell at him about it because you get to group 8, and well, they're not good. But thinking about it, they do go out there for a big race in August. So if the traveling doesn't, I could see maybe 3 or 4. But again, it's a long haul. And I just don't know their schedule before and after. Okay, but where are they before the Skagit event, and where are they after? I think they are, well, they're at Fremont before Eldora. And then the weekend before that, I'm drawing a blank. I was just talking about it tonight with someone where they're at. They're in Kentucky. But that's the weekend before the Kings Royal. They'll be off July 4th. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But I could see maybe 2 or 3 going out. All right, let's catch up on some questions. Best wingman is Rico when he jumps off and into the arms of his crew. Yeah, look, I'm not begrudging him. It gets old. And then you see people doing it for wins that are like $4,000, which makes no sense. So it's just me being picky. Jeremy, are you just a high limit apologist? Because you were saying about how a national tour having over a month off was bad. Then today you are talking about how much freedom. It's two different things. I don't want high limit. No, they're not even close to the same. I don't like 25 days off between races because you get out of the news cycle. I don't think that's good for your series. I like the freedom between races. Freedom's not about the number of races you run. It is about having the option to, if you so desire. There's two different things. You know, I know some people like to say, well, you know, the freedom thing's a non-issue because they run less races than the Outlaws anyway. Well, no, it's because they have the option to, if they want to. Doesn't mean they have to do it. It means they have the option to do it. And by the way, I have no problem with the way the World of Outlaws do it either. I'm far from an apologist for anyone who listens to me enough. No, I don't like High Limit's decision to go to Fremont right before the Doty, because that's 6 races in 6 days. And when I add up the money to get into these races, it's a hefty chunk. So somebody's going to have to suffer. So no, I'm not an apologist. And freedom versus 25 days off is they're on opposite ends. They're not even close. What are your thoughts about David Gravel approaching younger drivers about driving smarter? Shouldn't younger drivers drive hard to win? Yeah, but you don't want to run over people either. And look, Carson Macedo's a case study in this. If you ask Carson Macedo about early years on the tour, go ask Shane Stewart about run-ins with Carson Macedo. Go ask, you're on a tour, you're racing these guys every week. You don't want to be the guy who's walking into trailers apologizing all the time. And you don't want to be the guy that everybody wants to take out on the flip side too. You're running for points, you're running for a lot of money. So I think there's a happy medium there. I think Kofoid has found that happy medium. I think Carson Macedo has found that happy medium. Now, also, those guys come out of California and it's dog eat dog out there. You're driving every lap hard. There's no laps off in California because you either have lap cars that are weapons or you have other guys, even the guys running up front, sometimes, fencing you. So I think there's a happy medium. I like that David Gravel said something to Conor Morrell. Obviously took it to heart and put it on the podium. He can say what he wants. The veterans, that's what they do. That's the same in any sport. I covered the NFL. You had guys in the locker room who told the young guys they weren't doing it right. That's just part of it. But no, I like aggressiveness, but you can't be running over people every week. Or you shouldn't have people running over people every week. Gotta love a good open wheel divorce. The kids suffer. I don't even know what that means. The kids. I disagree that Hagerstown is a nice facility. No, I disagree back because go outside. I don't know where you're from, but I've been to enough tracks around the country. Hagerstown's a nice facility, comparatively speaking. I think it's decent. So Baps is night and day from the old Susky. Yes. You could have tested missiles at Susky at one point. Scott Gobrecht and Colton Gauss have done a great job doing, just bringing that facility to what it is today. All right. Does Joey Amantea just like to spin out? He's learning the ropes. I thought he was going to run non-wing this year or more non-wing, and he's turned this into a wing schedule. I think that's taking some getting used to. So we'll see how he progresses. All right, what do we got here? We can only look at head-to-head. It's happened 6 times. Here we go, the 57 thing again. The 57 is averaging 2+ spots higher at the end. On a year where gravel is dominating the Outlaws like he is, it's a big deal. Okay, how many races has Larson run? So by that metric, so Kyle Larson this year has run half the shows David Gravel has. Almost. He's run 12. It's 1-4. Now, maybe he would be better at 23. But at some point you gotta be. I know you don't like David Gravel, obviously, but I'm not just gonna knock him down because the 57 pops in and wins once in a while. Just not gonna do it. And yes, okay, they ran against each other 6 times. And yes, the 57 has a higher average in those 2 races. But again, okay, when I do rankings, I have a minimum number of races. And it does come into the equation. Maybe the stats would be better. And maybe I would have him number 1. Maybe I would. But as of now, I would make David Gravel number 1. Except at Knoxville. I would not make him number 1 there. And he's pretty good there. But I'd take David Gravel ahead of the 57 at the Grove. I would take him. There's other tracks I'd take him ahead of Kyle. Probably Eldora. So, again, Kyle didn't run those races. So, I understand. You have 6 races head-to-head. Is that enough of a sample size? Because if we're going to do that, so the races in here, Anthony Macri is better than David Gravel. Not ranking Anthony Macri better than David Gravel. Not doing it. So, again, you can head-to-head, yes. I like head-to-head, but it doesn't always tell the whole story. Do we see Sisney in a car for the white card? I doubt it. I unless he got a ride in the last couple days. Selinsgrove didn't need cars when they were making the schedule, but as soon as the Grove cancels, they are supposed to rush up there. It's a good point. Again, I don't believe anyone owes anyone. I don't believe anyone owes anybody like they have to race up there or they're expected. I don't go by that. Is Dave going to be at Skagit? I don't know his asphalt schedule, and I probably should keep up with that, but I would assume he would be. Do you think Pursley is in an average ride? He runs better in all other rides. I had this discussion last night. The boot cars has struggled. It struggled last year. Justin Peck's considered I think probably a really good driver. And they struggled last year. I do know they're not the luckiest team in the world. But look, it's a rookie. It's a guy who's in his first full season of 410 sprint car, wing 410 sprint car racing with a team. I mean, they're what, 20 races into their season together? I definitely think there's some gelling that needs to go on. And I do not know the chemistry of that team. So, I'm very situated. I'm all about situations. Some work, some don't. You can have the best driver, best crew chief, and best owner, and the situation doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So the boot car can be fast. but they struggled last year, and I might be a tire-ish. I know some teams say that. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see as the year progresses. You can't compare a series regular to a helicopter driver that drops in like the 57. Okay. That's Jim from Buffalo. I think you can if you get a big enough sample size of races. You just got to get a big enough sample size. I don't think we're to that point yet. Now look, if Kyle goes out, so let's say David Gravel wins the High Bank Nationals. Does that not mean anything just because Kyle wasn't there? When you got a guy jumping in and out, it makes it difficult to rank them. Obviously, Kyle's great. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's difficult to rank guys when maybe they're not showing up at some of the big shows. So it's nothing against Kyle. It's nothing against David. It's a tough call. And then if David beats him at the King's Royal, but then loses 3 other races to him, which one means more? That's another thing that has to be considered. And everybody kind of looks at that different, even me. I look at outlaw wins and high limit wins carry way more weight than a local win. Big premier races, big money races count more in my rankings than a $5,000 to win race or a $10,000 to win race. So there's an ebb and flow to it. All right. I like seeing Woo rookies doing good, such as Connor Morrell. Yeah, it was a good run up in Canada. Hopefully it can continue. We'll see how he progresses. All right, we're going to kind of go rapid fire. Lando Norris or Oscar? What? I don't even know what that means. Next one. What do you think will be the next hot button topic now that Wingate appears to be all but forgotten? Well, High Limits squashed the deal with the watches now that they just said you can't wear anything. And I interviewed Steve O'Neill on Saturday, and that's been in their rule book and in Central Pennsylvania all year, apparently. I don't know why they wouldn't announce it. Maybe get a little good PR, but they have not. But no watches in PA as well. So that one's dead. Somebody will get clipped for tires or something. Teching's still always going to be an issue. I know they were teching hard at Port Royal the other night. They took tire samples. All of a sudden, teching's picking up. So we could see somebody clip for something here, and then that'll be the next one. Are you sure you know what you're talking about? I don't agree with all you're saying. Well, that's fine. You don't have to. It's okay. You don't have to agree with everything I'm saying. You know, some of it's opinion. Gravel is a great driver with an awesome owner and team. Give him his credit. Well, I mean, I think let's not get crazy. I think David Gravel gets a lot of credit. I think that team gets a lot of credit. I mean, we're talking about 1 and 1A here. I mean, I'm not going to spend all night on that, but I mean, it is what it is at this point. And who knows? Maybe I'll bring out my rankings this week and just put Larson number 1. How close are we to getting Bruce Ellis on the deep dive? Actually, I've talked to Bruce Ellis. It's a technical thing. I got to call him back. I kind of left him hang. It's on me. We got to figure out how to get him into the computer. He's not a Zoom guy. He's not. So I got to figure that out, which I'll probably talk to my producer tonight on how to do that. By the way, I saw a comment before we get out of here. I saw a comment about Lincoln and Port running against each other, so it's no big deal. They've been doing it for years. It's different. They've been running against each other forever. Yeah, Lincoln and Port race same night. Why not Williams Grove and Sioux? I agree, though, that cars do not have to show. Port and Lincoln have always done this. And I think it's a big difference when you come in and challenge another track. Basically, you're throwing the gauntlet down there. We're running against you. It wasn't done. Sealands Grove also used to run Saturday nights. There used to be 3 Saturday night tracks in Central Pennsylvania. Why didn't they just run Saturday then? They used to in the past run 410s. So the Port Lincoln thing is a different animal. And they're bigger. They're more established. I can keep going how they're different than Sealands Grove. Sealands Grove's got to work their way up the ladder again. All right. Is there anything else? You woke up the Larsonites. Well, that's okay. Look, it's not like I'm saying he's 5th. I'm not saying he's 10th. I'm just saying that, come on, 6 races. Come on. Jeremy, were you hiding from me at Ransomville? I was not at Ransomville because Saturday didn't look good. So I'm like, am I going to drive all that way for one race? So I stayed at home. Sorry. No, I was not hiding. In fact, I might see you in Wisconsin. Might go to Wisconsin. Don't know yet. All right. All right. That's going to wrap it up for today. My producer's giving me the heave-ho. He probably got sick of listening to my voice. I appreciate everybody joining the chat, everyone who called. And again, thank you for, I know we switched nights. Sorry about that. Damn high limit. We'll blame Chase Rodman. No, that's all right. And next week we'll be back at our normal time. If you like the content on the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you like our daily exclusive content, check us out at SprintCarUnlimited.com. And again, we'll be back next Tuesday with another show at 7:30 p.m. Stay tuned.